Hello and welcome to PropTech Buzz. Today we will be discussing how Uganda's real estate sector is on a growth trajectory driven by rising demand for housing, commercial spaces, and infrastructure. The 13th annual International Real Estate Investment Conference and Dinner, organized by Area Uganda, will bring together developers, investors, and innovators to explore strategic partnerships and discuss emerging trends, including PropTech. And here's introducing Vincent Agaba, a man with many hats, directors of Avarts Housing Limited, with significant roles in Rwenzori Tourism Academy, a non-executive director and board member of Housing Finance Bank, board director for Habitat for Humanity, president Africa Real Estate Alliance, chairman of Governing Council of Real Estate Institute of Africa. Woo, that is so many titles. I almost ran out of breath. Hello, Vincent. How are you doing today?
Good to meet you, and I'm very privileged that you invited me to this show and ready to share and discuss, have a conversation about real estate in Africa, and of course, Uganda in particular. Good to meet you. Yeah.
You're very kind and you're very humble because the pleasure is all mine to meet someone with as many titles as you have and as many achievements as you have. The pleasure is all ours. So let's get right into it, Vincent. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself today?
Thank you very much. I can't take this opportunity for granted. I just only thank you for having put this together for many years and also creating a platform for us to be able to share ideas and insights as far as real estate is concerned. Real estate for us, we don't isolate it from housing and human settlement. So what you're doing is very good for humanity, and we think that it's a pleasure for some of us to be part of it. Vincent Agaba are my names. I have been in the industry since 2006. And my role in terms of Avarts Housing Limited and all these other boards is to ensure that we have a streamlined and also very affordable housing options and initiatives within the African continent and the globe at large to ensure that humans enjoy that first and important basic need, that is housing. So in brief, that's what actually is my passion. That's what makes me feel alive, and I will not sleep until I feel that all human beings have a roof on their head and also grow their family with dignity. That's what I stand for, and that's what I look forward to contribute for the rest of my life. Thank you.
So, Vincent, the African real estate industry, the prop tech industry, is at the precipice of a very significant boom right now. There's a lot going on in Africa where real estate is concerned, where prop tech is concerned, where new innovations are concerned. So, tell us, as the ex-president of area Uganda, tell us a little bit about the 13th Real Estate Investment Conference.
Madam, I would like to tell you that the human progress over time has been actually being possible because of sitting around and having a conversation. So the real estate conference is about a conversation. It's about a meeting. It's about a time to reflect, a time to think and discuss issues that seem complex in nature, but also thinking that we are very positive and optimistic in the future, that if we sit together and we discuss issues, we can find clear ways on how actually to approach them and solve them to make sure that we have those innovations and solutions that can make housing possible for all segments of the market. So the Real Estate Institute of East Africa, that's the backbone. And we have made it even now more exciting because we are saying, look, this conversation that is internal is not enough, because we share the same problems on the African continent. We share the same problems in Asia, in South America, in Africa, in Europe, and so forth. So the issues of housing are global in nature. And therefore, we have invited all colleagues from the world, including India, for that matter, to come and attend this conversation. And when we do that, the lessons learned from all different parts of the world converge together. And we say, look, can we localize some of these solutions that have happened in India, for example, or have happened somewhere in South America or somewhere in Europe, and try to solve the same problem? We are different people in terms of geography. We are different people in terms of how we look, but the blood that flows in our bodies is one. And by that matter, we also deserve one roof on our head. It might differ in design and architectural orientations, but the point here is no one wants to sleep outside. And therefore, that conversation is happening in Uganda. It's happening at the real estate conference, which is coming up on 5th and 6th December. And we invite everyone who is able to make it to come, and we share ideas. And that way, we can have a solution for human habitation and human settlement. We know population is increasing, land is definitely is not increasing, and therefore that rural urban migration can only be managed by having good housing and organized housing. And remember, that comes with other aspects of life, including public health, in terms of waste management, comes with other aspects, including the way people move, mobility of human beings, infrastructure development, and of course, housing finance is also very critical in that conversation. How do we have the money to ensure that those infrastructure and the housing that we need is made optimally? We need also to think about AI, the artificial intelligence, and other technologies that make housing possible and affordable. So the conversation is timely and it's happening, and we hope to see everyone there. That's the brief about why the conference is happening, and it has been happening for 13 times. So we think that the consistency of this, eventually we walk one step at a time. Thank you.
So, what can participants expect from this year's conference, and why is it significant for Uganda's real estate sector?
What we're expecting there is, of course, networking. So there will be where you have a conversation and people meet in the same place. One is networking. And why we're emphasizing networking today, there is what we call foreign direct investment. We can't solve the problems of housing in Uganda alone. We need partners. And those partners can come from any part of the world. And together with a mix of both equity, credit, and also making sure that we have grants that can help us unlock the problem of housing, together we shall make it. So networking is crucial. Number two is learning. We shall have very good presentations. We shall have good speakers from different parts of the world. And the idea is, can they help us to understand, for example, the issues of legislation, issues of, for example, prop techs, issues of, housing finance, issues of private-public partnerships. So there will be very good presentations around those areas and others to ensure that we learn. And we appreciate that certain things are done different in different parts of the world. And that will help us to think better locally and also integrate those ideas in order to create solutions. The other one is actually lobby and advocacy. When we meet and discuss, there are different people who hold different offices and can make things happen. And in that way of talking and discussing and presenting and networking, people get to feel that actually what is being put on the table is important, and therefore prioritize it in their budgeting processes, and therefore we see things moving. So in brief, those aspects of areas will be tackled within the conference, and that way we are able to have the housing solutions being approached in a very coordinated and very, very practical manner.
Why should real estate professionals attend? Tell us what opportunities would arise for them here, and also what key opportunities do you think that they might get from attending the conference?
Now, I would like to inform you that real estate practitioners are different of nature. You have real estate developers, you have real estate agents and managers, you have appraisers and valuers, you have architects, you have all different players within the ecosystem of real estate industry. Now, each of those, what we expect them to gain at this conference, one is networking. So when you come to this conference, you meet all these peers, you meet all these guys and so forth, and ladies and gentlemen who are in their own right doing certain things within their geographical jurisdictions and also within their own segments of the market. What we are seeing there is going to be like, for example, real estate agents. Real estate agents is a business of networking. You need to know someone in India who wants something in South Africa. And once you know the two, therefore you're able to coordinate the two in order to acquire a home or sell a home. So this is an opportunity for such a kind of player to be able to find and meet those kind of people. Developers, we are talking about foreign direct investment. People need to diversify their investments within different economies and different jurisdictions and different nations. So those who didn't know that Uganda could be a destination for investment, this is the opportunity to come to Uganda. And remember, when you're coming to Uganda, you're not only coming to Uganda, you're coming to East Africa. So there is a bigger market than Uganda. So when you're here, you are able to feel the neighborhoods. You are able to feel that the possibilities of being in this region and do something. The last but not least is to ensure that we test that actually what we see on TVs and media from different homes and offices, now Uganda probably is going to be seen physical and people feel it, touch its soil, and also try to compare with what they see on media houses. And that is very important because they say a child who does not visit always thinks the mother is the best cook. So this is the time to test another menu of food. So we think Uganda, as a part of Africa, is ready for all our international guests. Come and feel Uganda. Try to compare with what you hear and see the hospitality that is also here, and probably that will lead you to investing into this country.
uh, I noticed that generally when I speak to people from the industry, they are very practical. But I love that you use a lot of like philosophical points, like the blood within our veins is the same, and come and try our food and culture. And you're absolutely correct because it's the entire experience that you need to acquire from the entire. From Uganda, right? You have to come, you have to see their culture, and that's how you understand how they think, how they look. It's yes, you are a man that wears many hats, Mr. Vincent. So
Thank you very much. Yeah.
yes, you do. So what would you say to your attendees who are coming in? How can they maximize their opportunities, their networking? How can they? What should they look at? What should they do? Can you tell us, give them some advice about how to maximize their opportunity?
Thank you. That is a very critical question because what I would like to emphasize is preparation before coming. Do a bit of desk research about the, for example, the inflation rates of the country. Do a bit of desk research about the growth domestic product of the country. Do a bit of research about the trajectory of the macro and economic policies of this country in terms of investment and also how you recoup your investment in the country. That desk research is very important so that when you reach on ground, what you hear physically from the people, you're able to compare it with the statistics and the numbers that you have already read. And of course, the opportunity will be is to put the reality to those numbers by talking to the key decision makers and probably the people behind those numbers that we see online, that we see in research papers and also publications. So preparation is very important because when you come in here for those 5 days, it's not enough time to make quick decisions because we need to have also appreciate that conferences, conversations, workshops are time bound. And in that timeliness or boundness, there is nothing much we can do immediately at that point. The next point I would like to suggest is that when we reach here and meet people, let us pick business cards, let us pick those contacts, but also let us be deliberate in following up those contacts afterwards. Because usually it's all glamour, nice, ambitious, beautiful, and nice. But then afterwards, we fall into pieces, we go back to our work, our hectic situations, and therefore we think about 6 months later, there was no return on investment by going to that conference or that conversation. But the point is, did we pick one or two of those things and follow them all the way? My view would be pick one, two contacts, follow them to the end, at least so that we know that there is an investment. But last but not least is that get to know the country. As how you have said, really, we don't go to conferences and conversations because we just want to keep in the hall and listen to presentation and so forth. Let's make friendship. We are human. I think if the approach of us interacting and doing business together is anchored on the principle of humanity, the principle of I am because you are, and because you are, therefore I am. That is for me a very huge foundation for doing anything for the other without limitations and going through the hurdles to ensure that we deliver a solution that makes the world easier, the human beings easier, and able to live a far better life. For me, those would be the take home for that.
So, as as wonderful as it is to listen to you, because you use a lot of similes that are poetic and yet practical. What do you think would be the results of all the international influence that the area conference is going to bring into Africa? What result do you see coming out for the future of Africa and Uganda from this conference?
I can assure you, madam, that, for example, in April last year or this year, we signed a bilateral agreement with the National Association of Realtors of the United States. So officially today, Area Uganda, the Association of Real Estate Agents of Uganda, is a bilateral partner with the National Association of Realtors of the United States.
Oh,
And I can
wow.
assure you, the ambassador for the national for NAR for Africa will be present. Is coming. We're also having the former ambassador of the NAR will be present. We're having also friends from Singapore and Hong Kong will be coming. We're having friends from Nigeria, who are also a bilateral partner of the NAR, also will be coming. Now, I can tell you the message and the information all that will be discussed at the Area Uganda conference will be amplified by the same people when they go back home. That is huge. For Uganda, that's huge for Africa. And I can assure you with this prop tech buzz, we are likely also to have some people from India probably coming. Now, the more we speak about this conversation, the more we discuss it, the more people feel about it, they could be part of it. Now, what that does, it positions the country, positions the continent to be important on the table for the global real estate conversations. And that is the key. Why it is key is that probably most of the countries are known for different things. And we tend to think about the negative things. We tend to think about, oh, what happened wrong in India, what happened wrong in Uganda. But now we are positioning a conversation of prosperity. We are positioning a conversation of economic empowerment. We're positioning a conversation of economic development. We are positioning a conversation of solving a human need, and that is housing. That need is to go out there and be known that Uganda is not about this and that, but it's also key about how do you make sure the population lives in the decent and dignifying conditions. And I think that's important. So these networks will take that message there. Some of them will have seen, they will see that, okay, they are here, they are roads, they are good houses amidst other challenges. And therefore, Uganda and Africa is a better place also to live in and also grow your children up and live a dignified life. So we need these conversations around the continent. We need these conversations around the other continents, and we should be able to visit each other and break those barriers of I'm different, you're different, and focus on we are one, but only separated by geographical boundaries.
That's very nice to hear. You want to leave the world better than you found it. I that's a wonderful goal to move towards. It's very nice. You spoke about how some of the biggest ministers from Africa are going to be from Uganda are going to be attending the conference. Could you lay some emphasis on that and speak specifically to that?
We have our, the Association of Real Estate Agents of Uganda over the time when it was founded in 2008, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development was a very key player in the formation of this association. And we thank them, and we cannot really stop thanking them for having allowed the space to ensure that this association is formed and is nurtured to where it is today. Number two, the central bank played the key role of Uganda to ensure the association works towards that self-sustainability because the real estate agents' roles and practices affects financial stability in the country. Why? Because when you talk about the market prices, they are set and determined mostly by market conditions, forces of demand and supply. And real estate players, agents especially, play a key role in there. So if they actually create speculation in the market, that speculation can be picked by valuation, of property, which is a basis for collateral and security for mortgage lending and financial credit lending. And if you don't have a good hands on that, it will affect the portfolios of banks in terms of non-performing loans. Now, the central bank, through the Financial Stability Department, perfectly understands that. And when we reached out to them, they were so cooperative to help the association to ensure that we work together to have these agents do not become speculative. So they are our partners even in this conference, so they are on board. Then you have other different institutions, the housing finance bank, the mortgage industry, the pension funds, and all these kind of things, the insurance, they will be in there because this business affects their business too. So in nutshell, the ministry is on board, the government of Uganda is on board by that matter. And we're hoping that all different players who come to this conference are focused to the fact that we need affordable and yet sustainable housing. We are faced with environmental challenges today. The climate change is crucial. The issue of ESG is very important, environmental sustainability and governance. We need to think about how can we build houses and real estate without affecting so much the motherland, because we know statistically that 40% of environmental degradation is anchored within real estate development activities. So we are very cognizant of that. And remember also that the inputs for real estate, most of them are manufactured goods. Because if you look at the house, the roofing materials, the tiling material, the ceramics, the nails, the electricals, the plumbing works, all these are manufactured goods. So how do we do manufacturing sustainably in order not to actually make it worse further on how the environment and the climate changes are happening, but yet building affordable yet sustainable housing for humanity? That conversation must happen. And we think we can't do that alone without the public-private partnership. Governments have a role to play in that space because they generate policies and legislations that make sure that humans work within parameters in order to harness economic success. So, back to your question, we shall have all these, as many as possible, policymakers, government officials, to ensure that they listen to this, and together we build the countries that we need for our future generations.
Wow, you speak so passionately about this. It's really moving. What would you say to people who want to attend this conference and are showing interest in attending? What I know that all the categories of people who want to come from the real estate industry can attend, and it's very fruitful for them. But I would like to hear it from you as well. So, what categories of people would like to attend and should be attending this conference?
Well, we are looking at different categories of people, and I would like to say that, housing is a universal good. Housing is no knows religion, no knows size, no knows gender, no knows anyone. Housing is a universal good. All of us, we consume it irrespective of any orientation. So our invitation is broad and open-handed to everyone who understands that housing plays a basic role in raising our children at home. They need good housing in order to read and go back to school and do their homeworks. They need light. They need water. They don't need mosquitoes biting them around in the night. They need that place they call home for their own dignity, for home thinking that good manners begin at home. So housing is a universal good. So we are calling upon anyone who understands that once you organize a homestead, once you make sure that people are protected from the darkness and wake up in confidence the next day to see light and the horizon of the day, that makes them the heartbeat and makes them become more innovative, more creative, more confident, and looking at the world with hope and with a sense of belonging. So our invitation is broad. But of course, specifically, we can go and narrow it down and say we must make sure that the people in the value chain of housing must be present. Housing is a product of combination of professions: engineers, architects, valuation valuers or surveyors, lawyers, finance providers, mortgage providers. name the value chain. Those must not miss, because where we find information gaps is because we are not working as a team. Building a house must be a process of all the teams being on the table and thinking together and producing a house that actually is sustainable. If you design a house and you don't engage an architect, and then you build a house, you don't consider an engineer, then you're missing the point, because either the house is going not to be properly built, or actually it will not be properly designed. All the issues of, for example, taking advantage of light to ensure that we minimize on energy consumption, if you don't have a good architect who understands that, you're going to have a house with very
Absolutely.
small windows, with darkness, and therefore you burn more energy. And when you burn more energy, we're not saving the environment. So I can assure you that we would like especially those people in the value chain of housing to be present so that we start working together. The last but not least, we'd like to have the policymakers, the government, the politicians. These people make decisions on our behalf, on a daily basis. So if they can attend, it will be important for them to hear from the professionals, from the practitioners, and from the enthusiasts, and those are the people, or the consumers of these services, to take feedback so that they can make better policies. They can approach it in a more consumer approach than probably for us sitting in our rooms and boardrooms and deciding for the people who probably we have not heard from. Let me tell you this. We have different cultures, and culture is part of housing.
Absolutely.
Culture is part of housing. That's what defines cities, that's what defines neighborhoods, that's what defines countries. You will go to India, you will find the design for their housing is actually more tailored with their culture.
Absolutely. You're
You will go
completely
to the
right.
Europe, the same thing. So
Yes.
how do we make sure that whatever we develop is cultural sensitive? That can only happen when we sit together, looking into our eyes and understand each other and appreciate each other's cultures and modify and design houses that suit in those cultures. And that makes people feel at peace, feel at home, and appreciate these homes and be able to live within them, feeling that that is what actually speaks to their heart. In my view, those people should not miss the conference.
That was very well said. I think Uganda is at the verge of a boom, and everybody in the real estate industry and prop tech industry and construction tech industry should take notice, because Africa is moving fast. Their real estate is going places, and people should start taking notice and wanting to work more and more with Africa. That is what I, as a person in this industry, has realized. And I hope to talk to you next year, Mr. Vincent Agaba, and I want to see that this conference was an absolute game changer for the real estate industry in Africa. And want to see in the next 10 years that you have definitely left the world a better place than you have found it, because you're very visionary. That's what you are. You're very visionary, and
Thank you.
it's not just about building or making profits. It's about helping the people, and at the same time helping the ecosystem around it, and building, staying true to your culture, staying true to Africa. So, yes, and all the very best. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for spending the time and talking to us. And for our viewers, thank you for tuning in to us today. And we would hope to see more people and more of the area conference in Uganda. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Until next time, bye bye.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.